Welcome back, Yolo Squad. I hope everyone is ready. I hope you have prepared your questions. I hope everyone is ready to interact with Miss Diana. So I'm your host today. My name is Inyende Raisa. So I'll be here sharing the panel with the grateful, the wonderful Miss Diana Mpyisi. So to start, Miss Diana Mpyisi is the founder and the CEO of Blue Oceans. She has 19 years experience in communication management roles. Some of her professional roles include Director of Communication and Protocol for the Office of the First Lady of Rwanda. She has been also an English news anchor for Rwanda Television, and also she's a writer and has written for various newspapers, include newspaper, and also she has written for other newspaper across Africa. And also she's passionate about youth, which is the topic of today. Like, we're going to be inspired. She's also she's the co-founder and organizer of Spoken Word Rwanda, and also she's the founding curator of the Kigali Shepherds Hub. But also, last but not least, she's also a public speaker. So she has an interesting line of career, and I hope you're going to have a fruitful and wonderful conversation within this hour. So keep tuning in and tell your friends, tell the friend of your friend, neighbors, family to come and join on MTN Rwanda Instagram account. We'll be back. Thank you. Miss Diana, you're very welcome here on the platform of MTN Rwanda Instagram account.
Thank you very much, Raisa. It's an honor to be here, and I'm very thankful to MTN Rwanda for asking me to be here and share some of my tips on entrepreneurship. It's really an honor, so thank you to you and MTN Rwanda.
Thank you so much. So as you've been seeing throughout the week on Twitter, on Instagram, or maybe flyers sharing through WhatsApp. So the topic of today is entrepreneurship, and she's going to give us tips on how to look for the silver lining during this COVID. So to start off the session, maybe can you tell us who's Miss Diana outside the career line? Because you have an interesting career line, and I hope everyone is looking back home.
Yeah. So Diana, outside my professional sphere, my name is Diana Mpyisi. I am 38 years old, and I love spending time with my family and friends and my dogs. And I'm also very passionate about working with young people, not necessarily professionally, but also my extracurricular activities outside the 9-to-5 professional, sphere. I love working with young people and giving platforms for youth to be able to express themselves. And I think I would say that this influence and this passion has been really directed because of my time, my work. My first professional engagement, I would say, was working at Imbuto Foundation, First Lady's office. And I think you all know how the foundation is has very strong ties in youth empowerment. So I think I would say I was influenced by that. Outside my professional scope, I think that is what I'd say describes me.
Thank you so much. So I think everyone is very ready to ask her questions. I think you're also ready to answer the questions.
I am. You know, the weird thing is that I'm usually in your seat, right? So I'm usually the one asking people questions, asking guests questions on the very many platforms that I create and host. So it's really interesting. It's a bit weird, I'll have to say, that I'm on this side answering questions. But yeah, I'm ready to hear what the YOLO team's young people have to ask. Yes.
Thank you so much. So for my side, I'm very privileged to be seated with a professional journalist and a news anchor who has such a great career. I hope it's going to be easy for me to ask and interact with you with such a successful lady with a background.
Yes.
So to start off, what maybe I can ask for the people back at home. So what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Wow. Okay. I love swimming. I love pets. I love dogs, like I said earlier. I like hanging out with my friends and family. I love traveling. Thank God, even though it's we're living during this COVID-19 times, I'm very thankful that Rwanda has opened up its domestic tourism. So during this period, I've been really visiting Rwanda. I was in Rubavu last weekend, Nyagatare like 2 weeks before, and I'm just taking as much time as possible now that we're really in Rwanda during this period, taking the initiative to try and travel as much as possible. So traveling, friends, family, dogs. I love reading as well. These are some of the things I like doing for fun.
On that, on reading, can you maybe tell us your 5 favorite books, or maybe the book you're reading right now, so that someone can...
I used to actually even read 2 books at the same time. So it's a pity that the older you grow, you focus more on work and forget some hobbies like reading. But 5 favorite books of mine. I didn't come prepared for this, but off the top of my head, I would say I want to say books that will correspond to your target, these young people. Let me see. One I can think of immediately are books by. There's one that I really like. It's called The Earth is Flat, if I'm not mistaken. I also like books by the author Malcolm Gladwell. I love African literature as well. I also like novels that focus a bit on things to do with leadership. Off the top of my head, I can think of 48 Laws of Power. I think that's a great book for young people to read, especially when you're entering the entrepreneurial circle or you're just building your career and learning how to deal with dynamics. I think after this session, I'll look back and try and share some more.
I hope some people have written and wrote all those books, so maybe they can take a look at them and then also grow within as you've maybe have as they have maybe interested you so as to read them. So getting back on your career, maybe can you tell us, you are the founder and the CEO of Blue Oceans. Yes, can you maybe tell us about what is Blue Oceans, what does it do, when did it start, and what are the challenges that you faced while starting it?
Yeah. Blue Oceans is a communication and media consultancy firm. I started it when I left the First Lady's office in Buto Foundation where I was working previously. And it was really inspired by my will to be an entrepreneur. I would see people, pursuing their dreams and putting their dreams into action, and also in doing so solving problems. Because being an entrepreneur is not just about making money, it is also to do with seeing a gap. Whether it's in community or whether it's in industry, seeing a gap that you decide you'll want to fulfill. And for me, at that time, I started Blue Oceans in 2012, but we really officially kicked off around 2014. And Blue Oceans really was to solve the gap or fill in the gap of communication and media services and training, public relations, public speaking coaching, and that sort of thing. And also content development, so creating documentaries but also creating content for television. I think you probably have seen The Square. It's a current affairs program on TV Rwanda, so that's something that Blue Oceans has created. So we're really passionate about communication and media, and we're also passionate about creating content about Rwanda by Rwandans to be shared to the world. Some of the challenges, of course, when you start up a business, there's always capital, it's always money, it's always access to finance. But I always think that if you're really passionate about something, if you're really dead set as an entrepreneur in creating your business, that should not be a barrier. You can borrow money from banks. There are very many grants. There are very many access to finance initiatives for SMEs such as mine. You have friends and family that can support you. So some of the challenges were, in setting up in the beginning finance. But I would say the biggest challenge was getting the right skill set of the right teams to be able to create the work and implement the work on a very high level standard, because it's unfortunate that when it comes to the field of writing, of content creation, of understanding media, there are not very many experts or much training that goes on in Rwanda, but I see that as a challenge, and I see that as where I will get teams and mentor them and train them, and you fill in that gap in terms of skills. So those are some of the challenges that we experienced. But I think every day is a challenge, but every day is an exciting opportunity to fulfill that challenge. I think that's the type of hat you have to wear, because it's extremely. There are challenges every day. It's also you can't really always tell what the future holds. There's a lot of certainty in entrepreneurship, so you really have to have a mindset, an attitude of being 101% positive all the time. Without that positive attitude, I think many people say as an entrepreneur, the business usually fails after its first birthday. In the first year, and we've been doing this for a couple of years. So I think staying positive is one way of dealing with these challenges. Yeah.
Positivity and going for your dream is the key for success.
Absolutely.
Yes. So can you also take us through your journey on RTV, being a news anchor and hosting the Square? How is it and how is working on RTV?
Yeah. So first things first, I was a news anchor from 2001 and 2003, and that was before I went to university. I was straight from high school. So that's when I was a news anchor, and I went in, after high school, we have 1 year. Yeah, the 1 year gap, exactly. So 2001 was the 1 year gap between high school and university. I went to university in South Africa, and I went as an intern to just go and understand what journalism is about. I used to follow journalists. I used to see what they do. I used to shadow them in order to learn. And I'd been there, I think, 4 months. And at that time, the director of TV came and told me, "You're going on air tonight to read the news." And I panicked. I flipped out. I was terrified because, I was 19. I had no experience. I just used to shadow. So it was baptism by fire. I read the news and I ended up doing it for a couple of years. And that gap, after that year, I went to South Africa for school, but each time in the holidays, I'll come like November to January, read the news for a couple of years. So that's when I was a news anchor, and that's how it started. Baptism by fire, no training, nothing, but you learn on the job. And I find it exciting to always kind of be outside your comfort zone, and I think that's how you can grow. You can't keep on doing things that are just safe and nice and predictable. So that was, I think, my introduction to understanding the excitement of doing things even though you're not prepared, but just being passionate about it and understanding that, you can grow if you're always in your comfort zone. So that was then. I was not on TV for the longest time ever. So Blue Oceans, we're creating content for our clients, doing documentaries, doing small videos. And I was watching TV Rwanda once and I said, nah, we need something on TV. But I had an idea of saying, this is 2018. I wanted to bring something on TV that, number one, would have young people who are eloquent, who are brilliant, and who would debate and challenge the status quo. And I thought, I went and talked to Arthur. He's the head of RTV, the head of RBA, Rwanda Broadcasting Agency. And I said, look, I have this idea. I have this show. I don't want to do a one-on-one. I don't want to be like a host and I have guests. I want to have a panel television, a panel, and we are the show. And from time to time we have guests, or from time to time we just talk amongst ourselves. And Arthur, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful to RBA. They said, you know what, we'll give you a chance. If the first 2 episodes are crap, we'll cancel you. But thankfully, we prepared ahead. We were supposed to launch in 2017, December, and then we ended up launching in 2018 February. So yeah, the Square has grown from strength to strength. I hope many of you watch it. I'm not sure. We have panelists. You know Charles Harbour, Brennan Amata, and myself. So my company Blue Oceans, we created for RTV, and we are passionate about doing the same. Right now in the pipeline, we have a couple of more ideas that we want to approach and give RTV. Not another talk show, not another current affairs show, but maybe something like a series, something like interesting, fun, and engaging. And my dream is to be able to be creating content through my company for platforms such as RBA in order to just tell a different story about Rwanda and to also create exciting, interesting content for Rwandans as well. Yes.
Well, so you have to get out of your comfort zone. I'm pretty sure you have a pen and a paper and it is written in your mind and on your heart. So I have also a question. Like I think everyone is really interested in this question. So how can you give us an insight and on the experience of working in the office of the First Lady? How was it? You were young. How was it being in the office of the First Lady?
Wow. It was, I don't think we have enough time to go through it, but if I can be...
Maybe you can tell us the first day, or maybe the first day they called you, like you've been picked. So you are going to start the first day, the first Monday.
Yes. First of all, I was excited and I was also terrified. I think I didn't sleep like from 4 o'clock. I showed up at the office around 6, and I remember my boss, one of the directors there said, "Why are you here at 6? I mean, the doors open at 7." Yeah, too much excitement. In a nutshell, I worked there for a couple of years. One, I am very grateful. I literally do not think I would be able to do what I do. Work under the pressure I work under, constantly face challenges head on. I'm constantly trying to be innovative. I don't think I would have done that if I had not worked at the First Lady's office or in Imbuto Foundation. I would like to look at Imbuto Foundation as, I feel like it's an incubator. You know, it gets young people, panel beats them, you know, and then takes them out to the world. And I feel like I'm a product of that. And understanding that if you're going to do something, do it to your best. Super, super high standards, like global standards, no exceptions. And I try and approach that with in every single thing I do. So these are some of the insights I can say. It's a lot of, and not fearing hard work. You know, I feel sometimes when I look around young people, there's a sort of sense of entitlement or not understanding. You know, when you work hard until it kind of breaks you, only from there can you understand the value of hard work and the outcomes. So these are some of the things that I felt during my time at Imbuto I learned, because it is what we went through. It's what I went through with other young people like me. I think, you know, at Imbuto Foundation, they have a lot of young people. It's very youth oriented. So I'm grateful because it taught me a lot. Hard work, working under pressure, being innovative constantly, understanding the value of high standards, and also being collaborative. In the work I do at Blue Oceans, there's a very big sense of collaboration, because it's only through working with other people, other institutions, that you can really succeed. So I have a very collaborative mindset in how I approach things. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Through the whole time in the office of the First Lady, so you come from the office of the First Lady, and then you went immediately. You started.
Yes, Blue Oceans. I mean, I was a consultant for a while, which I think helped, because I was so excited to start my company. You know, I just thought I want to be my own CEO. I want to be my own boss, my friend. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to run a business. If you want to run your business, you need to understand. You need to do research. You need to build a network. And this is what I would like to call it professional social currency. It's a currency. Knowing people in the right places, understanding how these people can work with you. And for me, I was kind of green. I was used to being in the NGO, civil society world, public sector world. All of a sudden, I'm going into private sector thinking that I can run a business. So I registered Blue Oceans in 2012, but it's only 3 years after that it finally took off as a company. So in those years, I was a consultant. And I'm so glad that there's a process I went through, because as a consultant, I was doing consultancy as communication and media, in communication and media. So I learned a lot more than what I learned just being in Imbuto. I learned also in the private sector, this is how certain things are done. This is, you know, if you're going to put an invoice, this is the tax implications. You know, if you're going to have an office, this is what it means. If you're going to consult, this is the terms and references. And after doing that for 3 years, I thought to myself, I'm ready. Now I can start my company. Yeah, so we got a business office space. We've been based at Kigali Heights for the longest time. We just shifted, got a small team, and started the business slowly by slowly. But what I would like to say, and what I learned, what I'd like to share, is that it is a process. You cannot wake up. I know there's impatience with youth, and there's confidence, which is great. It's a good combination. But you need to understand that there's an element of step by step to achieve and get to certain goals. So that's what I went through. I'm able to do what I do now with my company because of this process over the last, I would say, the last 7-8 years.
7 or 8 years.
Yes.
So I kind of have a question. Also, it is my own curious question.
Okay.
So I would like to know, you came from being a director, a journalist, or you had a prominent career. You were young. So what was the main force, the main energy that drive you to maybe to leave all that and then start your own company?
Yeah, like I said earlier, you know, we used to work a lot with young people, and I would always see these young people saying, I'm passionate about this, and I've followed my dreams, I've followed my passions, I've started my company. Literally, that's what inspired me. I said to myself, I want to be able to do what they do. And when I turned 30, I said, because I gave, you know, my 20s were in civil service, and I told myself when I turned 30, 31, I would love to be able, because I'm passionate about comms, media, content creation, and I wanted to be able to be given a chance to do it in Rwanda. So that's really what drove me. Of course, there've been ups, downs, sideways, downturns, but you really have to have dogged persistence. Let me tell you, if you're not passionate, you know, my parents would always tell me, but Dana, are you sure you want to do this? There's a job opening at the UN. There's a job opening at the African Development Bank. There's a job opening at the you know, these big jobs. Why don't you go? Get a salary.
The dream career.
Exactly. Get a salary, get benefits. Even until last year, you know, I have relatives who keep on saying, you suffer so much. You know, I see when you come and you're talking about this, that. I'm not complaining. It's actually what makes it, I thrive on it, because that's entrepreneurship. I still have family who keep on saying it would be good if you had a nice predictable job, but if you're passionate about something, you will succeed if you're determined and persistent. But you also have to be consistent. You have to be consistent with your standards, and you have to be consistent with the outcomes. You can't do something for a client that's poor quality and then, you know, you have to be consistent in delivering, and over time people recognize. I think people like to recognize good quality or excellence. People observe. And when they observe, when your brand becomes bigger, I think that's what keeps it going.
Yes, thank you so much. So we'll be back. Let's take a short break and we'll be back after a while. Thank you. Welcome back once again, Yolo Squad. So we are back together with Miss Diana Mpyisi. I'm your host, Ingindi Raisa. So in the first session, we learned how to be positive, to go for your passion, and to go bigger, and then to be consistent and also to be excellent in whatever you do. So to start the second segment, we are going to dig deep into the topic. So we are going to talk about, can you describe us what is entrepreneurship? What, like in your own words, what do you understand by entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I had said earlier on, entrepreneurship the way I understand it is to do with, you know, understanding a need or seeing a gap in a certain sector, whether it's in you know, whatever industry, whether it's in health, whether it's in communication, whether it's in agribusiness, you know, seeing a gap and then having an idea to fulfill that gap. That to me is what entrepreneurship means. And so anyone can be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship is about understanding that gap and understanding that you or your company can provide a solution and also make a profit. That is entrepreneurship, simply said in my words. That's how I understand it.
So to be the solution and to bridge in the gap in whichever sector. So as you know, being an entrepreneur, maybe engaging in the line of business is very challenging and very competitive. So what makes you want to stay in this line of work?
You know, someone was asking me the other day, Dana, if someone gave you a job with an amazing salary, like, I don't know, $10 million francs per month, would you take it? I mean, it's tempting, you know, it is tempting because you want something that's secure, you want something that you can plan better with in, you know, a steady salary and so forth and so on. But I think once you've been bitten by the entrepreneurship bug, it's very hard for you to go back. So for me, the reason I stay is actually one of the biggest reasons that I keep on staying and doing what I do is because I have so many plans. I feel like this is just the beginning, you know, one achievement each year, another achievement each year, but I have like 10 achievements. So I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this for as long as possible, because until I am done with my ideas being implemented, until I'm done with closing those gaps that I told you, that I observed, then I'll be like, okay, maybe now I can go into employment, give my services or share my experience or teach others. But right now I still am in this field because there's so many more ideas and I feel like I've not even started properly. So this is why I still do what I do, and because I love it immensely, even though it's extremely hectic, it has many issues, but the love and passion outweighs the challenges.
The challenges,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's here to stay, and better look for her and then be inspired and maybe learn from her. So as we know, like being a young lady or maybe a female, especially here in Africa, it is very challenging, considering the myth that a girl must stay at home, even though we are like Rwandans, we are very lucky that our government is bridging the gap of those myths by employing young ladies, by giving us like open opportunities and to be self resilient. So what are the challenges that you have faced as being a female entrepreneur, either on the national level and also competing maybe on an international level?
I find this question so problematic because my experience, I think I have been lucky. I know how hard, I know how difficult it is for women in business, not in Rwanda, but across the world.
Across the world.
I know it's difficult. I do not negate the experiences of women, of girls in the field, in any field, whether it's in education, whether it's we know the patriarchy and the stereotypes that prevent women and girls from reaching their best potentials because of certain norms, certain culture. I'm aware of that. But if I come back to myself, Diana and Mpyisi, I think I've been really lucky. I have worked with women. I have worked for women. I have served under women who have been able to inspire confidence in me. Whether it's having worked in Imbuto Foundation, whether it's my consultancy days in the ministries that I consulted for, the organizations that I have consulted for. I am always really lucky to meet women who are in positions of influence and power. And this for me has made my journey really simple compared to most. So I can't really say I have faced challenges as a girl, as a woman, because I've been really privileged. I understand it's a privilege to be able to serve under fantastic, brilliant, passionate, dedicated women. And I have learned from them. And I have taken that into my personal career, but I totally understand that the experience across the board is different from women, and I know women face a lot of discrimination, oppression, especially when it comes to professional practices based on culture and norms, like I said earlier on, and I love the fact that in Rwanda, this is something that we constantly fight against. We try and empower our girls as much as possible and tell them that they can do just as well, if not even better than boys in school. We're always looking at the gaps and trying to understand how we can ensure that all men and women are treated equal in Rwanda. And we also have leadership, over 60% parliamentarians. Women. Exactly. So I feel we're really lucky where we live in a country that really reinforces the idea that gender equality is a necessity. It is not a privilege, it is not a luxury, it is a necessity.
Well, so as a person, maybe as Diana, not Diana in the professional career, Diana as a person, so what do you think can be like the contribution, or maybe men or people can contribute so as to eradicate that myth that girls or women like are the second class people?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's just common sense. It's common sense. You're a mother, you're a father, you have a daughter, you have a child. Why would you treat your daughter less than your son? It is common sense. You should be able to challenge these norms that prevent girls and women from fulfilling their potential. So starting with the home, it all starts at home. It all starts with the parenting. You need to be able to teach your children that they're both responsible for the same things across the board. If the girl is going to do dishes, the boy also should do dishes the next day. Take turns. So it starts from the home, where parents should enable their children and make them understand that they are both equal, they have both the same opportunities in life. Nothing should stop them. So I think it should start in the home. Of course, on a policy level, you need to be deliberate about it. I think in Rwanda we're very deliberate on a policy level to ensure that there's equal treatment and equal opportunities to boys and girls, starting from schools, from education, to opportunities in the work field. That sort of thing is a bit deliberate. But other than deliberate policy around it, I think we need to start from community level and parental level to ensure that men and women, girls and boys, they understand that gender equality is a necessity. Yeah.
So everything should start within the foundation. So getting back on your career, so what do you consider as the biggest risk you've taken so far?
The biggest risk?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I take risks like every day. Every day I sleep. I unfortunately, being an entrepreneur means that you do not have good sleep. So I don't know why, but 3 a.m. is my idea time. I will sleep. I'm terrible, but I'll try and sleep around midnight or 1. But 3 a.m. I always wake up, and that's where I have ideas, or that's where panic hits me. Like, this risk you took, you need to stop, you need to. So there are risks every day. I think for me, the biggest risk that I took, um, the biggest risk I think that I would say that I took was, yeah, I would say leaving employment. I had a fantastic job, very prestigious, and I left it just, in my 30s. That's when you start really building a career. I switched gears, and it was a big risk, but it was also a calculated risk. So there are risks you take, but then you also understand that there are risks you take, but you've weighed out your options so that it is not as, you don't get up into a panic, 24 hours after making that decision, because it's a bit calculated. Yeah.
Taking on that risk,
Yeah.
can you advise it to people right now in this pandemic to take the same risk that you took?
No, I don't think I would be. No, and yes and no. Yes and no. So if you just allow me to just maybe talk about the silver
yes,
linings
yes, yes.
of COVID. So for me, I think that first of all, I love this saying. I don't know how accurate it is, but necessity is the mother of invention, right? That's something people say. And I think we are living in unprecedented times. We have never lived, I personally, I haven't. I know you haven't. We've never lived through a pandemic, a global pandemic, ever. So these unprecedented times call for innovation and new thinking, because we are necessarily in a situation where we have to invent, and that's why they're saying necessity is the mother of invention. So I think during this period, it is a chance for people to invent, to innovate, because everything has just been turned upside down. Do you need office space? People are now working remotely from home. If you look at that, what services can you start providing to the remote working, in the remote working sphere? We are looking at inventions. Before making masks or PPE, personal protective equipment, that was just for the hospital or the health sector. But you have people making masks, you have people making that glass, those masks. I think it's, what's that, who makes it? Is it prefab or fab lab? I'm not sure, but those masks, the plastic, the plexi masks. There's so much invention. You have service delivery. Before we had Hello Food and Jumia, but right now everyone who's worth their money is understanding, I want to be in the service industry. So yes, there are opportunities. These are the silver linings I think that the pandemic has brought. But at the same time, I would not be so quick to jump into, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do my own thing. I think it would be good to just hold on to that if you have something a bit more solid right now. But there are opportunities. Some of the opportunities also mean that people realize that this is the time now more than ever for SMEs to flourish, right? So what's happening is there are lots of grants. There are lots of grants mushrooming up across Africa. There's the COMESA, grant that's being done by MasterCard and ES partners. There's money. All of a sudden, I wish this was how it was when I started Blue Oceans, but that's not the case. But there's a lot of grants where people are realizing, if Africa is to go forward, if the continent is going to go forward, if the region is going to go forward, these SMEs, these young entrepreneurs, this is our lifeblood. How can we support them so that the long term, they can support economy in general? So right now, do your research, go on the internet, look for these grants, but first solidify your idea. And if it's worth it, you will get money. There's now money more than ever. That's the first silver lining. The second silver lining, I think, is that I've realized that people are just much more kinder. And I'm talking about in the entrepreneurship. People are letting go of their egos. People understanding, let me collaborate. Let me share what I know. Let me share my expertise. I mean, I am here sharing. I know Patrick Buchana was also sharing the other day. So I love that in the entrepreneurship space, people are understanding, let us collaborate, let us share this competitiveness. Let's collaborate more than we compete. And I think it's a win-win for everyone, so that's another silver lining that I would think of. And then another silver lining that I would say is that I feel like it's also been a wonderful opportunity, not just in entrepreneurship, but across the board, for people to to bring up or to share or to highlight leadership. I've seen a lot of coaching going on of CEOs. I've seen a lot of coaching going on Instagram by young people just starting up their channels. There's a lot of leadership sessions that are happening more than ever. People are a bit more aware that in this field of business and industry, as an entrepreneur, let us also bring each other to a high standard and share leadership practices. So the silver linings are, I think that I would say in a nutshell, as an entrepreneur, it's difficult, of course. I know a lot of people are suffering, businesses have shut down, but you need to look at the glass half full, right? And I think that understanding that this times are new, but people are collaborating more, people are sharing more, there are more opportunities for funding, there are also more opportunities for invention, there are more opportunities to create new businesses that previously did not make sense, but now they're there. But you just have to have that positive attitude hat that I spoke about earlier. And also it's a period where people are looking more inward and understanding, how can I be the best I can be? How can I be the best leader I can be? How can we embrace the best leadership? And if I go far, I think we can see how just the leadership in Rwanda in handling this pandemic, if you don't notice it, then I think you're taking it for granted. It's been brilliant. So just coming down to a less macro level, I think as entrepreneurs, these are some of the silver linings we need to look to and try and embrace, but also for the long term. Not until December, not only until 2021 when the pandemic hopefully ends, but just, you know, on a permanent basis. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, guys, you should write your ideas and go for the opportunity. You should knock on the opportunity. The opportunities are here, and we should go out and embrace them. Yes. So, I think you have answered it, but let me ask it on a separate way. So, what would you advise to entrepreneurs already in the race of the business and who are already starting their business right now in this pandemic?
Fantastic. I'm glad you asked that question, because one of the things that, you know, and I was asking the MTN people, I want to talk about this, but I don't know how relevant it is to today. But one of the things I want to talk about, and I think this is the biggest advice I can give, but it just doesn't even mean entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs are usually high achievers. Right? And high achievers means they want to do things, they want to get things, they'll take the calculated risks, they want to achieve more than is just given to them. I think that's what defines entrepreneurs. So one thing I would advise about entrepreneurs, and this is what I wanted to talk about, and I'll talk about it briefly, is what is known as the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome, first of all, the word in English, imposter means a pretender. Like you're posing as someone who you're not. So if I say Raisa, you're an imposter. I'm like, where's the real Raisa, you know? So the imposter syndrome, what it is basically is that it is a thinking, a very toxic, very negative, very unnecessary way of thinking, where people actually don't believe in themselves or don't believe in their achievements. And it usually is people who do it, a lot of people go through it. I think everyone in this room, between us, we've gone through it, or even the viewers at one point in our lives, whereby, you know, you achieve something, but you think you're a fake, and you think people will find out that you faked it, or you're not the real deal, you know? So what happens as an entrepreneur in your business is the worst sort of mindset to have, because there's that little voice in the back of your head always telling you, okay, yeah, you did Blue Oceans, but are you really that good? Why are they interviewing you? You're a fake. They're going to find out you're a fake. You know, you start doubting yourself. Yeah, yes, you host the Square and produced the Square, or you've done this, or you're constantly doubting yourself. So the imposter syndrome makes you believe that you are not, you're a fraud. People will find out one way or another. Your business is a fraud, and basically, you know, you'll be found out. So imposter syndrome is the worst thing to have, because it destroys your confidence, it destroys your business, and you doubt yourself. And it's brought about by the little voice, but it can also be brought about by unsupportive friends or family. So how is one way that you can actually deal with this imposter syndrome? I think there's a few tips that I'd like to share. First of all, I think it's important to write down your accomplishments. So as an entrepreneur, whether you're starting a business or whether you're in your business and you're going through a lot of self-doubt, because it's a cancer. If you listen to that imposter syndrome, you will shut down as a person, as an entrepreneur, but also your business and therefore your services. So I think the first thing I would say is write down your accomplishments, separate fact from imposter syndrome fiction, and say, Raisa, this is who I am, this is what I've accomplished. Once you realize that is one way of challenging that syndrome. The second thing is I think it's important to have people you can discuss it with, people you can talk about it with, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends. You don't talk it out. Another element of dealing with it is, embrace it. When you feel that self-doubt, I can't do this business, I'll never succeed, who am I, so and so has done it like this, I can't be like them, and then you fail to launch. Listen to that voice, embrace it, and then move on. Yeah, so my advice, and I'd love young people who are listening to go and read up more on it. It is very prevalent. It is not only for entrepreneurs, even mothers. You have a child and you're like, I'm not a good mom, someone is going to find out I'm a fake parent. No, don't listen to that. Whether it's even a doctor, whether it's a teacher, I think the imposter syndrome, and I'd like to talk about it in this particular field of entrepreneurship, is something to think of, is something to understand, and is something to acknowledge and move on in order to be able to successfully move forward with a business idea, because it's all in the mind. There are many other tips I can give, but I feel like because that is very mental and it's very personal and it has a humongous impact, I think that is the one I would love to talk about and advise people to understand and acknowledge and move from in order to be able to be a successful entrepreneur.
So basically, we should be authentic as possible as we can.
Exactly.
Right. So what's your take on the issue of failing businesses here in the during this pandemic?
I think it's normal. I think people should not be too hard on themselves, because it is very difficult to have a business that operates as it did before during this period. It's very difficult. So I think people should take it easy, not be too hard on themselves, try and find support networks where they can still be able to support themselves or their families or their businesses. I think that businesses should also put their employees first. You're shutting down your business, but think of your employee. They've been working for you for many years. Find a way of don't just think about, be a bit humane, compassionate, exactly. So it's okay to fail during this time, but put your employees first. Try and be people should be kinder. People should be more compassionate, like you said, and let's just try and support and help one another. I've seen it happening, which is really inspiring, but I think it's more important now than ever, to understand we're all in this together and we need each other as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So I think time is not on our side, but let us make it quick. Maybe we should take a short break, and then when we come, we are going to answer the questions on our IG Live. Thank you. Very welcome on once again. So we've been reading your comments, seeing your question. So Ms. Dan, I have one question here. So it is saying, in the next decade, given the current drive of the youth, how do you envision them?
In the next decade, given the drive of the youth?
Yes, the drive of the youth. How do you envision them?
Right, okay. First of all, I don't think I'm still in the bracket of youth anymore. So I'll be talking to the next decade. I think they'll be more resilient. That's the first thing I can think of. I think they'll be more resilient because I feel like they've been given the bad end of the stick. A lot of young people, their first entrance into their youth, into opportunities, into ideas, investments, is going to be clouded by this pandemic. And I think this pandemic is here to stay. I don't think it's leaving in 3 months, and I think the effects are going to change life as we know it, life that we've been accustomed to, you and I have been accustomed to. So if I'm looking at the next 10 years, in the next decade, I think youth will be more resilient. I think they will be more innovative, and I think there will be more understanding of the fact that not everything is dependent on government or on older generations to be given to them, because we've seen that relying on that sort of system, any day it can just be turned upside down. So I feel, I don't feel, I hope that actually, that young people can learn from this and be more resilient, be more independent in creating their own realities, and not waiting for power to be given to them, or opportunity to be given to them, or privilege to be given to them. So I hope they'll understand that. I hope they'll be more collaborative, understanding the only way we can win is if we have more, systems of collaboration, from the grassroots to even on a policy level. So these are the things that I hope young people will evolve to embrace in the next decade, but just based on the times that we live in right now.
Thank you so much. So I think we are coming to the end of our session entitled Entrepreneurship and receiving tips on how to look for the silver lining during this COVID. So as personally, I've been very inspired, and thank you for this wonderful conversation. And I hope also our viewers have done as such. So for our viewers, maybe can you give us like a punchline to take away home with us? Aside from all the good advices, a good punchline.
Yeah, I'm going to imitate a big brand, or maybe it's because I'm looking at some of the shoes, but like Nike says, just do it. Do it. When you are in doubt, when you get out of your comfort zone, when you feel like you can't move forward, just do it.
So just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Repeat it within yourself and believe it. You can do it and you can achieve more. So for our followers, I hope you have enjoyed every minute of this conversation. So I hope that you're inspired and mentored, and I hope you are going to take a step forward. And this is just a drop in the ocean, and I hope you keep moving forward. And then see you next Saturday, same time, same place. And for the viewers and for the people who have not get a chance to watch this session live, you can catch us on our YouTube channel, MTN Rwanda. See you next time, same place. See you.